Our work here at ALF, and especially with UB, is fueled by something called Black-Centered Design. Don't feel bad. A lot of people haven't heard of it. But if you've ever had a problem and a solution to that problem, yet have never been asked about either, well, you likely know the concept behind Black-Centered Design. You just didn't know that's what it's called. And in this next clip, Marcus leans into the practical application behind the methodology known as Black-Centered Design.
Coming into this organization, into this role, experiencing how our community works together and how systems work with our community was a challenge for me. You know, oftentimes we talk about a problem, you know, whether it's unemployment or youth development or housing, and, you know, someone convenes a table and there's 30, 40 people around the table and they're all having conversations about their insight or their opinion or, you know, their experience with whatever that challenge is. And we go around, we say some really amazing things, have some amazing ideas, but it's challenged by, well, what do we do next? And so oftentimes those conversations, even though we left energized or refocused, it doesn't have a through line where we get to an outcome and output. So we started to think about, over the past couple of years, what is a human-centered design approach to doing this work of collective impact? And we dubbed it Black-Centered Design because we want to center the Black community. So we want to make it as obvious as possible. Whatever we design, we're designing it for our community, right? And that process also entails the fact that we're going to use our inherent knowledge within our community to actually develop solutions. So the whole process, because it is a process, starts with the idea of us going into community and talking to community about their experiences, right? You can't talk about hopes and aspirations until you talk about experience. How are you experiencing, you know, home affordability? How are you experiencing developing your business? How are you experiencing, you know, developing your young people? And through that experience requires a bit of empathy. It requires us to put ourselves in those shoes and say, okay, well, what's the underlying challenge within that experience that we can address? Once we can do that and we can empathize, the next question that we ask is, well, who's already in the community doing it? Because there's people out there day in and day out, whether they're leading by themselves, a small group, or they're leading large institutions. They're trying to solve for, you know, the home ownership rate. They're trying to solve for the unemployment gaps. They're trying to solve for the wealth gaps. Well, what are they doing and what do they need and actually to accelerate their work? That's the question we want to bring to them, because the whole idea is that if we can bring resources, support, connections, collaborations to those efforts, we're going to see greater impact, right? And at the end of it, we want to amplify that. We want the community to be a part of that and being able to say, yes, we need to support that institution. Yes, we need to support that effort because they're the ones that are going to help us deliver the results that we're seeking. Our community is not monolithic, right? The African American community is diverse, it's unique, it's dynamic. And we have issues ranging across the spectrum within our community. So whenever we talk about a certain issue area, we want to find out who's having the challenge in that area. We can't just, you know, brush a broad stroke and say, well, if we're talking about housing, we're only going to talk about affordability, or we're only going to talk about home ownership. All of that's within the spectrum of having safe homes and safe neighborhoods for people to be in, right? And so when we go and talk to folks, we want to know about, you know, how do you live? Where do you live? Where do you want to live? And then understand, okay, well, where is the challenge and how do we start to build solutions for those challenges? Within our community, no one's experiencing Minnesota or the Twin Cities to the way that they want to. So how do we think about the full spectrum of our experience and making sure that we're addressing issues across the spectrum, whether it's economic, whether it's education, whether it's housing, whether it's healthcare? We have different things and different experiences within our community that we want to change and we want to improve. Our community has always tried. I think we've been met with resistance. I think we've been met with skepticism whether or not there's truly a problem or it's just a matter of our own internal pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps. But I think what the last 2 years have really shown the world in our community is that we've been talking about these issues for far too long. in this community in particular, where now people are saying, wait a minute, I think you're right. I think you're onto something. These systems aren't working for everyone. We need to change. We want to do with instead of 4 and 2. And so for us, it's how do we take that energy and start to stretch a new muscle? Because for the last 400 years, we've been talking about there's a problem, we need to change. There's a problem, we need to change. And now it's, okay, we get it. What are we gonna do about it? And that's gonna require a different type of leadership from our community. That's gonna require a different type of leadership across the board, that powered by all. It's gonna require all of us to adapt and change our leadership so that we can actually do something that's more inclusive of us all versus just, oh yeah, we're gonna do that thing because I think it's a great idea. Well, no, it should be a great idea because the community thinks it's a great idea. And we're gonna support that idea that the community came forth with. So for all of that to say, the reason why it hasn't been done before is because we keep doing 2 and 4 instead of with.